1 year ago today, two men, Kyle Ramstetter and Christian Kirchner, pled guilty in federal court in the Eastern District of Virginia to the federal crime of allegedly aiding my husband in violating his Amazon employment duties. My husband was never charged with a crime, and this year, the DOJ vacated those guilty pleas as not in the interests of justice. I remember what it felt like a year ago today because I knew those plea agreements contained statements that weren't true, and I knew it, but I didn't know what would happen. And fortunately, the DOJ figured out that the pleas were wrong and not factually accurate, and therefore no crime had happened and they couldn't pursue these guilty pleas. It was almost unprecedented in American history that they did this, vacating the pleas. But here's what really bothers me. Amazon was represented by a former federal prosecutor from the Eastern District of Virginia, as was their business partner, IPI, who also accused my husband of a crime. IPI was also represented by a former federal prosecutor from the Eastern District of Virginia. Those two former prosecutors, I believe, had advised Amazon and IPI to break a contract, and they needed a felony to justify breaking that contract, or Amazon and IPI would be out hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially in the billions. And so here's the thing that I just can't understand. Amazon and IPI's outside counsel, the former federal prosecutors, they doubled down and tripled down and quadrupled down on trying to get DOJ to pursue these criminal charges. And I figured out why recently, and it's just mind-boggling. Even though Amazon and IPI both knew they didn't even have a civil case, let alone federal criminal charges, the former federal prosecutors continued to lobby their colleagues to bring criminal charges. They didn't really care what would happen once it was in the DOJ's hands, because the two former federal prosecutors could then go back to their clients, Amazon and IPI, and say, look, we did what we said we would do. We got the DOJ to charge these guys with a crime. If the federal prosecutors lost it at trial, that's their fault, not ours. We did all we could. And then Amazon and IPI's outside counsel at Gibson, Dunn and Aiken Gump would keep their clients that pay them tens of millions of dollars. And so they were willing to go to the DOJ and have them pursue false allegations to really maybe have their former colleagues put their careers at risk so that these lawyers at Gibson, Dunn and Aiken Gump, representing Amazon and IPI, could keep their client relationships. And I just find it to be baffling that any lawyer would do that to a former colleague, that any lawyer who had represented these United States of America would think it was okay to treat the Department of Justice like that, one of the sacred American institutions that we have. It's just really disturbing, but I guess it's the almighty dollar. And you don't want to lose the billionaire's business. So it's just beyond me that Amazon and IPI continued to lobby for the DOJ to bring criminal charges over a set of allegations that a federal judge said didn't even amount to a civil case. You wonder what the prosecutors who received Amazon's allegations, who seized $7 million that DOJ had to return, what they think. You wonder if the federal prosecutors currently at the DOJ wonder why their former colleagues were willing to essentially throw them under the bus. I don't know, but it's deeply disturbing. And a year later, I can't help but think about it.